Andrew Carnegie once said, "No man can become rich without himself enriching others." One of the biggest mistakes newbie investors make is wanting to do everything themselves in order to avoid sharing any of the profits of their deals. I can't think of a greater limitation to success than that mentality. Doing a few land deals is great, but only by scaling the business can we achieve great wealth, and that means tapping into the expertise of others. Like you, though, those experts expect to be compensated for their efforts. When you find the right partner, it's like magic. Today on the Land.MBA podcast, David and I are going to talk about how to find partners that can help you take your business to the next level. If there's one thing I've learned in my business career, it's that I don't have all the answers. Look, I'm an ambitious guy, and I like to make progress fast. The secret to achieving success fast is to harness the brain power of other people in the community. That's what the Land.MBA Smart Bar is all about. As veteran investor Jesse Marchand said, "The Smart Bar gave me the motivation and knowledge I needed to push through the tough times and accelerate my path to success." Seven-figure investor Mitch Milan likes to say, "There's one meeting each week that I never miss. It's the Land.MBA Smart Bar. It's like happy hour with my land investing buddies. I always learn something." So if you want to network with like-minded people, make new friends, learn heaps, get questions answered, answer questions for others, learn new strategy, get accountability, and overall get inspired while having a great time, check out the Land.MBA Smart Bar. For a short time, podcast listeners can get 20% off the annual plan, which comes to an insane $86 per month. Compare this to other programs which charge $250 a month or more. This is hands down the best deal you're going to find and the best way to invest in your success. So don't wait. Please go to land.mba/mastermind. That's land.mba/mastermind and use promo code podcast22 to join today. Hello, all you gorgeous land entrepreneurs. I am Howard Zonder. This is my partner, David Van Steenkist, and we are into November. And I can't believe, maybe this whole global warming thing is true. I don't know. It was 75 degrees here yesterday in Connecticut in November. I've never experienced that in my entire life.
Yeah.
Today it dropped down, so it was okay.
It's actually pretty decent here in Denver today too, but I don't think it's that warm. It's probably, I haven't even looked at the temperature. But
well, we're gonna jump right into this because there's probably about 52 tons of leaves that have to be cleared off my property. So I got things to do.
All right, sounds good. So what are we talking about today, Zonder?
So we're going to talk about realtors. Now, I have to be honest with you. Historically, I have not been a great fan of realtors. I've not always had the best impression of realtors. I know there's some great ones. It's like anything else, it's the bell curve, right? There's some great ones, there's some crappy ones, and most of them are kind of in the middle. But for our business and what we do, we need the great ones. We definitely don't need the crappy ones, and we really don't need the mediocre ones. But one of the things that I've heard a lot and all the people that I've spoken to and continue to speak to in land is that when people first start out, they're not really crazy about the idea of having to share any of their profits. And when you're working with a realtor in land, typically the commission is not the 6% you would pay for a house, but it's 10%. And so the idea of giving 10% away of commission to a realtor, it's just something that at the beginning a lot of land investors don't really like. Now, if you're working in the cheap stuff, I totally get that. But if you're going up market, there are some compelling reasons to do this. Which we'll talk about. But I'd like to start out with this basic concept, and that is the people who make the most money are the people who aren't afraid to let other people make some money too. Because
Well
that's how
said.
you build interest and loyalty and partnership and teamwork. We just can't keep it all to ourselves. We gotta share it a little bit, and and if we can help somebody else make some money, they're going to be working hard for us going forward, and that really really matters. And I think that's really really true of realtors as well. So I'm going to stop being down on realtors, and I'm going to say focus on the great ones, because there are some really good ones out there, and they can really help.
Absolutely. It's like anything, right? You have certain profiles of a person and you have certain specialties. And, I'll just go back to a little bit. I'll come back to land, but when I started my real estate career, I was doing fix and flip on houses, and I was also doing some buy and holds. And you know, there's plenty of realtors out there that will list that home for you once you've got it fixed up. But you want a partnership with that realtor to where they're also bringing you deals, right? So they know your criteria and they understand how an investor needs to work, and they understand the numbers, you know. Um, and so they're not bringing you junk that where the prices don't work and they don't meet your criteria and wasting your time. And we're moving into an environment with now, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So I had to go through a few here in Denver when I first started that career, but once I found a couple of really, really good ones, one in particular, and she made a ton of money with me and I made a ton of money with her. And, once we did a couple of deals and it was cranking, we just kept going, and it was wonderful because fixing and flipping houses, you're constantly in the car. You're driving around, looking at properties, taking them down, going to closings, managing your contractors and all of that. And she was awesome because she was so good at comping out a property. I'd be like, hey, I just put a deposit on this property. Can you please run the comps for me and make sure I'm getting a decent deal? And all the time, no problem. And so that really helped me out. And I had done some deals that I didn't do so well on. I didn't buy them well. And once I started working with her, I never bought a bad deal. And so you got to leverage those, they're part of your team. Now, fast forward back to land, I have a couple of areas that I work, and I use realtors almost exclusively in those areas. And one of the areas, some of the stuff I get is a little bit lower in price point, where sometimes I'm very tempted to just sell it myself. But we've built this great relationship. And so coming back to what you said in the beginning, you say it again about how you got to let other people make money.
Yeah, you got to let other people make money.
The way you said it the first time was eloquent. Anyway, yeah, you got to spread the wealth around a little bit, and those people will continue, because what you're looking for in a realtor is a realtor partner. And anybody that you bring in, whether it's if you're doing a lot of surveys, if it's your lawyer, your accountant, whatever, but particularly realtors, because they're the boots on the ground for you. And you want to be able to establish that point where, all right, first you're coming into a new area, you're trying to meet someone, maybe you're new, you're trying to meet this realtor. And so you've got to, at least to press upon them enough to work with you a little bit. And then you got to get a deal and bring them a deal. And then once you do a deal, then you're golden. It only takes one deal. Do one deal together and you're golden. And we're in a market now where I think there's going to be MLS deals. There's going to be deals that you can comb through Lands of America. I'm already doing it and making offers on some of these properties that are on the MLS. Well, you've got some good realtors out there that understand land and that you can give them your criteria and they understand your criteria, that good partner may bring you some pocket listings.
Absolutely. Realtors don't make as much money on land as they make on houses because typically the land is less valuable. So typically our deals would be certainly below 100,000, which is not the sweet spot for a realtor. Even a relatively inexpensive house is going to be a couple $100,000 or more. But the thing though is when they take the average listing, somebody's moving into that house, right? So they buy a house. It's not like they move house every 6 months. It's done, right? They got to go find somebody else. But with an investor, even though land is is going to be a lower commission on an individual opportunity, if you're working together and you're bringing lots of opportunities to them, it all gets made up into volume, and they can get very excited about that. So that's the opportunity, and that's sort of the positioning when you're first starting that relationship. You don't want to, make huge promises that you're not going to deliver on, but you can say, look, this is what I do. This is where I'm heading. I'm not necessarily looking for a one and done realtor. I'm looking for a partner in this area because I intend to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then see where it goes from there. And then you can get somebody's attention. But as David said, it really takes the first deal, because you're not going to have complete confidence in them, nor are they going to have complete confidence in you until the first deal is done. And then now you've said, okay, we've made each other some money. Now let's take this to the next step.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've got that relationship, you've done some deals, and then when you need something, when you need them to help you with data, whatever, hey, I got this property that I can't find any comps on because it's out in the middle, wherever, and I just can't find comps that I'm confident in. Can you please, take a look at it for me? They're boots on the ground, and sometimes they'll come back and say, yeah, I think I just sold a couple, that were similar. So I think you can ask this. Sometimes they come back and say, you know what, my guess is as good as yours. Let's test it, but then again, if it's before you buy it, you got to kind of have a good idea. So, but it may also tell you that, like, well, okay, to be safe, I got to go in and I got to reduce my offer. But I have one who works with me in a particular state, where we're doing several counties. And what I love is that she will be like, okay, here, and here, these kind of subdivisions or these sub-county areas in the county, I really like. Stay away from this, stay away from that. Don't go too far east over here. And so when you're doing this business remotely, it's really priceless to have boots on the ground like that to tell you all about that. I mean, you just tell us about the new realtor that you just hired.
Yeah. Well, let's actually break it down into a bit in some steps here.
All right,
Just
cool.
so we can kind of walk through how to do this. So the first thing we have to do is we have to find a realtor that we could potentially work with in that geography. Once we found it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but once we found the realtor, then we need to vet, or once we find realtors, I should say, that are on my short list. Now we need to vet the realtor to say, okay, do they seem to have the qualities we're looking for. Then once we decide on one, then we can do a listing agreement. And I would suggest first time there's a very specific way to do that listing agreement. Once we've got the listing agreement, we do the first deal. If that works out, then we work on taking it from deal to partnership.
Yes.
So phase one is finding a good realtor or a short list of realtors. And it's a pretty simple thing. You can go to Zillow, you can go to realtor.com and pull up all of the realtor listings for land of the type that you want to sell in an area and see who's there. And there you have it.
Yeah,
if you have a tool.
I really usually prefer Lands of America, but Zillow and Realtor are good. You just get a lot of realtors that are doing a mix of houses and land. Where in Lands of America, you're getting a lot of land specialists, although they may be focused on large stuff
Yeah,
and they
my
don't want to do your
experience
little stuff.
with Lands is that Lands of America has a lot of investors. But a lot of the realtors are always going to be on Zillow and Realtor because those are basically, they're all syndicated from the MLS. I'm sure they're on Lands too, but it's you can, whatever, use all of them.
It varies
But
per area, but yeah, use
if
all of them.
a tool for, I'm going to do a shameless pitch here, but if you use a tool like Price Boss, you can bring all your comps into, say, the Realtor tab, and then it gives you a realtor analysis, and it'll show you who all the realtors are stacked ranked by who has the most listing in that data set, and the average the average price of their listings and the average size and acreage of their listings. Because what you want to do is you want to find somebody who's going to be skilled in the segment of the market where you're playing. It doesn't matter if they're doing all 100, 200, 500 acre properties and you're selling a 3 acre property. They're not going to be all that interested because that's not where they play.
Yeah. And that's why, to your point, checking, all 3 data sources is a good idea, depending on the types of property you're working with.
After I've decided the short list of realtors that I want to investigate more, before I call them, I want to look at the ads that they've posted. I want to see how they do it. Because a lot of realtors, especially with land, they throw up one crappy picture and almost nothing in the description. They just fill out the boxes on the MLS with size and whatnot, and they put it up there.
Yeah.
And that's garbage. And those are either the crappy realtors or in the 80% in the middle. But those aren't good realtors.
Yeah. And along those lines, the other thing you want to check in the ad is that a lot of the ads that you'll see some of them place, you want to check the map, because a lot of times the map is not even close to where the property is.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, that bugs the hell out of me.
So
to me, it just shows a lack of detail.
Pictures, possibly drone footage. I just want to, it should be as good as if they were advertising a house. I want the write-up. It doesn't have to be long, but it has to really express the finer points of the property and why somebody should be excited about it. And the information should be accurate. It should be professional. I mean, whether you're selling a house or you're selling land, do it professionally. Don't just slap something up there. That's
the key word. It needs to look professional.
Yeah.
I like to if I find somebody I like, for example, in Lands of America, this is a lot easier to do in Lands of America than in Zillow or Realtor, but I like to click on that realtor and see how many solds they've got, how many listings they've got. And it looks like what's that?
You can do that in Realtor.
You can't in Zillow though, I don't think, can you?
Yeah, maybe not in Zillow. The Realtor, you can get a whole realtor page for
the whole bio. Okay, cool. I mean, I like to look at all that, and I want to see what they've sold in land, and the diversity of acreage, if it's
and it also shows you what listings they have right there. So you can see kind of all of the listings in one place. It's a good way to do it. So once I go through that process and I said, all right, this person, they're still on my short list. They passed that test. Then I'm going to call them. And I'm going to explain the situation and say, hey, I'm looking to. I'm not calling them to say I'm looking for a realtor. I call them to say I have a property that I'm looking to sell, and I'm investigating realtors right now. That's kind of how I say it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see where the conversation goes. So Dave mentioned that I just started working with a new realtor in a particular area. And I'm pretty excited about it because right at the beginning of the conversation, she said a few things that really just immediately made me think, all right, this person's on the ball. First thing is it's rural property. So it's on a dirt road. It's kind of out there. And she said, where is it? And I gave her the address and she goes, oh, I know exactly where that is. So that was good. She knows the area. She lives in the area. She knows the area. And she's very focused on land. So she knows all these properties. And then the second thing she did, the other thing she said before we got off the phone was, well, I'll tell you what, let me On my way home tonight, I'm going to swing by those properties. I'm going to take a look at them, and I'll call you in the morning and let you know what I think. We didn't even have a listing agreement. We didn't even talk about a listing agreement yet. So she's going to go look at the properties and then come back so that we can have a more meaningful conversation. She's already investing in this relationship, in order to win the listing. And I have to say this: when you look for a realtor, let's just say you're using Price Boss, where it's stack ranked from the person who has the most listings to the least. You can clearly see who the big kahuna is, or if maybe there's one or two of them. The number one lister in an area is not necessarily the one you want.
Right.
When it comes to realtors, I really like the Avis model. Remember the old Avis ad? We're number two. We try harder. So the guys that are number one, they don't need you so bad. They're
Yeah.
looking for the bigger commission deals or the high volume deals. You're going to have to prove yourself to them more than they're going to have to prove themselves to you. I don't want that kind of relationship. I want somebody who's going to, right out the bat, is going to say, look, I work for you. I'm going to work hard. We're going to do this. We're going to make money together. That's what I want to hear. Right?
Exactly.
So, chances are the number one guy or number one gal is not the one that I'm going to end up working with. But when somebody says, I'm going to take time out of my day today and I'm going to go do a drive-by and I'm going to look at those properties, when tomorrow I'll give you a call in the morning and we'll have a conversation about it. And that's exactly what happened. And she came back and she said, because I had two properties, they were right next to each other. And she said, yeah, the northern property looks great. And the southern property is actually even nicer. It's got a seasonal stream on it, but did you know that there's a shed on it and some trash? Well, I've never seen any of the properties I've bought or sold. So if that didn't show up on Google Earth, I didn't really know it. So I said no. So she said, I know somebody. I'm going to have him go out and take a look, and he'll give us a price what it would take to remove all that trash. So let's say it's $500. I'm happy to pay the $500 to remove the trash. It's fine.
Yeah,
and it's got the seasonal stream on there, which makes it even better. So she's basically telling me about my properties, and she took a ton of pictures. So of course I did the listing. Once I negotiated the listing agreement, it's already, it was within a day, it was up on Realtor, it was up on Zillow. There's no grass growing under her feet. And there were all these fantastic pictures that I didn't take. I didn't even hire a photographer. She took them.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I have one of mine. She goes out and takes all the photography, marks the corners, and puts a sign up. I'm like, it's all included in her commission, so I don't have to, fork out $450 for a droner, and you get a sign and the corners marked. My droner doesn't mark the corners. I guess he'll do it if I pay him extra, but anyway.
One other interesting thing that happened today is when I looked at the ad, I won't say how many acres it was, but it was X number of acres it was supposed to be 0.43 and it said 0.33.
Uh-oh.
And so I just sent her a text message and I said, the size isn't right on the ads. It should be 0.43, not 0.33. She said, oh, I'll take the good catch. I'll take care of that. And so she took care of it. And then I went and looked at the ad again and it said 0.43, but down in the description area, it still said 0.33. So I said, yeah, thanks for making that change. I hate to be a pain in the ass, but in the description, it still says 0.33. She came back and she said, you're not being a pain in the ass. I work for you. This is my job. I should have caught that right from the beginning, and that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It is for sure. Yeah. Now you went to a realtor with a property and with desirable properties to sell that she thinks these are, going to be good, easy to sell. So that's the easy time. When you have a property already and you come to a new realtor, you've already got credibility, right? They know that they're not wasting their time because if they say the right things, do the right things, they're going to get the listing. Now, what is a really good idea? Certainly there's nothing wrong with what you did, but when I'm getting to know a new area and I want to go into a new area, it's highly beneficial to do more research up front. And part of that is calling realtors in that new area to talk about them. You know, I mean, even if you're a rookie, what I teach my students, I tell them, look, call them up and first of all, have something to say, read about them a little bit. And you want to be able to call them up and compliment them. Something like, hey, I noticed you've sold a lot of properties in this area. You seem really successful. Good job. Something to that effect. People like to have their ego stroked a little bit. It helps you build rapport. And, even if you're
anybody who thinks that flattery sounds insincere has not received enough flattery.
Right, exactly. But, start the conversation that way. So make it about them. And then introduce yourself and, whether you're experienced, if you're experienced, tell them a little bit about, where you've worked and what you've done. And if you're brand new, be transparent with them. Say, hey, I'm, brand new land investor. I've got a mentor and I just took some classes and I'm looking at and investing and buying and selling land in XYZ County where I see that you're working. And, I want to be sensitive to your time because you probably get calls from a lot of people expecting you to do things for free and wasting your time. And trust me, I don't want to do that. But I am looking for hopefully a long-term relationship to partner on deals with. And so can you answer a few questions about the area for me in 5-10 minutes, and one of the key questions is, are there any favorite areas or subdivisions in the county or acreage sizes that you like, that you would love to have more inventory because you got a buyer's list and can sell these? And then are there any particular areas that you would stay away from? And that's, really
That's right there.
And then just let them talk,
and that's exactly what happened. When we were going into the conversation, I said, I just love how proactive you are. I said, the kind of realtor I like to work with. I think I'm going to go try to find some more properties. And then we had a whole conversation and she told me exactly what part of the county to look at, what size properties to look at, why to look at that size property, what she can do with them, and said she would also be on the lookout for me for those properties. That's where we ended it. So I started by bringing properties and then backed into the idea of her helping me to source properties, as well as to advise me on what kind of properties to go find. You could do it either way. I mean, you can start the way David was doing it, which is more open-ended conversation, or bring something to the table. However it works. One thing I said that when you do the listing agreement, there's a very specific way to do it, and that is when we finally got to that part of the conversation. I asked her. I said, "So, what are your normal listing terms?" And she said, 10% in 1-year contract, which is pretty standard stuff. So I expected the 10% for land, at least at the beginning of a relationship. And I said to her, I said, look, you sound fantastic. I'm really excited to work with you, but let's also be honest with each other. I don't really know you at this stage of the game, and you don't really know me. And I am not comfortable signing up for a full year contract on a listing agreement until we have some relationship under our belt. So let's do this. Let's start with a 3-month listing. And then, all goes well, we can work from there. And she said, the next thing that I loved, and she goes, that makes perfect sense to me. And by the way, I hope to have both your properties sold long before that happens anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like you found a good one up there. Very cool. Yep. And it's interesting too. So I used to have a motto. I didn't coin the phrase, but I absolutely adopted it because it's truer than true. But when I was flipping houses, the really frustrating thing about flipping houses is your contractors, not so much your realtors. I used to use the term, every contractor has a shelf life. Because, just when you have done some deals with them and have this trust and working relationship, they overextend themselves, and before you know it, they're chasing everybody to get deposits because they didn't manage their money well, and they end up, crapping out on you. Well, realtors have done the same thing to me, where they just got so busy, and maybe, I wasn't bringing that many deals, bringing them onesie twosies and, whatever, wherever they were getting their deals from. And I have one in particular that I was working with, man, she was a rock star when we first started, came highly recommended from some people in the industry. And, I understand when you get busy, but you have to communicate with your client, say, hey, I'm really busy, and actually I may not be able to serve you very well, so I'll let you out of the agreement if you want to find another realtor. But not, this person just ghosted me. And so that was that happens. They get really a big influx of business and get real busy. So I bet she's available now, though, because she did houses too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's like anything, though. Realtors can have a shelf life too. And so that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. So anyway, build a short list based upon, who's actually selling the type of land that you want to sell in the area. Do a little bit of research on them, make sure that they look good before you waste the phone call. Get on the phone, vet them, ask them some probing questions, ask them some tough questions about the area. Make sure they know what they're talking about. Make sure they live in the area. That's really important. If they don't live in the area, they're not that useful. They have to know the area. They should know the area a heck of a lot better than you do, because that's the whole point of it. They're your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Initially, try to get a listing agreement that's not longer than 90 days until everybody's proven themselves, and then figure out how to grow from a single listing into a broader partnership relationship. And that's how you use realtors in this business.
That's it. Well, I think we're just about out of time. I've got no more to say on that. So, you want to mention something about our December accelerator cohort?
Sure. So we are finishing up a current class of students, and we've got another one starting up at the beginning of December. We don't take any more than 10 students in any given class. That's the absolute max, and we are filling that one up already. So if you are looking to get into the land business, this is your opportunity. This will be the last one for 2022, and I tell you, if you're thinking, oh, I'll do it next year, someday never comes. So buckle up. I think it's time to, especially now, the economy has got all kinds of question marks on it. If ever there was a time to have a side hustle going where you can control your financial destiny, it is now. And it's fantastic. We've got the video course, we've got the small group live training course on top of that. You've got access to the Land.MBA Mastermind, the Smart Bar that we meet every Tuesday night. And then you get the year of support, all of that together. It's a comprehensive deal. We're going to hold your hand and make sure you succeed. So we start the next one in December. Check us out, land.mba/coaching. And to learn more about it, or give one of us a call, our numbers are on the website.
All right. I bid you adieu.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.MBA, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.MBA. See you next time on the Land.MBA Podcast.